to the podcast Tahu Talks, where we celebrate the rich tapestry of Ngāi Tahu whānau stories. I'm excited to introduce you to Thomas Aerepo-Morgan, a dynamic young Māori leader hailing from Bluff. Growing up as a nanny's boy, Thomas didn't initially have the chance to immerse himself in the reo, but he took the initiative to learn. His passion for Māori culture shines through as a kapahaka tutor, composer, and dedicated leader. Join us as we dive into Thomas's inspiring journey, his commitment to cultural revitalization, and the impact he's making in his community. E te rakatira, no mai, haramai, ki taku podcast, Tahu Talks. I'm so excited that you're here today, and you were one of the first people I thought of when I wanted to do this podcast, because it's all about promoting Ngāi Tahutanga, from different Ngāi Tahu people, discussing, different issues within our iwi, and you embody all of that. So thank you for being here.
Tēnā koe te tuahine I te reo rāhiri kia huitahi tāua, ki te kōrero. Very excited to have a chat with you, even though I see you every other day.
Spill the tea?
Yeah, spill the tea, absolutely.
Okay, so we first met when you joined us here at Tahu FM as an intern.
Yeah, I took on the radio, that position with Piki. Yes, we had the shared show Auraki.
Uh-huh.
Tēnei ko Auraki mai anō. I had just turned 18.
And you've come a long way since then. Man, you've done a lot in those past years. Most would say you've achieved more than most pakeke.
Cut it out.
Yeah. And I know you hate it when I call you rakatira, but you freaking truly are. You're a rakatira. You've achieved so much, and I look up to you a lot. And we were talking earlier about your reo journey and how, that hasn't even been that long, and your reo is like panekiretanga level. But let's start at the beginning. You were raised in Bluff, born and raised in Bluff?
I born and raised Bluff boy. Heurio no Ngāi Tahu, Ngāi Te Raki Āmoa, engari ka whakapapa, he whakapaparanga anō ki roto o tūhaurangi Ngāti Wāhia, Te Arawa, Ngāti Whakauwe, ka peka atu ki roto o Ngārua Wāhia, Waikato Tani Wharau, Ngāti Mahuta, ka mutu, no Rarotonga, hoki ahau.
Yeah! I love that. See, you got all that rakatira hononga. Ho, Rarotongan even.
Ai, Aerepo.
Hey, have you been over there?
Aye. And I think it's even more special that my family live over there. My great-grandparents are both buried over in Rarotonga, one's in Titi Kāweka and the other's on another motu, Mangaia, my great-grandmother. So, yeah, I've got whakapapa ties there, but also knowing our narratives around the waka, migration and leaving Rarotonga.
So what was life growing up in Bluff?
Very small town. So we were quite lucky to have fun with all the mates. It wasn't it's a fishing town. I harau I te tangata hika. And that's probably where my fear for the sea comes from. Knowing that great white he mako. Is that what they're called? But yeah, born and raised Bluff boy. We were lucky to be raised on the Marae. Kāori tipu me te reo. Kāori tipu, taku whānau me te reo. Engari, Māori ake nei te noho ki ngā rekereke o ngā kaumātua, and was actually quite lucky to be raised by a few of our old ones who are no longer here. Nai maharānau ki tērā hunga, ka ngaro nei a tātou. But yeah, that's, being raised in Bluff, rough, tough, and I come from Bluff.
Is that your guys' motto?
Absolutely. And me kaha te tangata. So quite a resilient, I don't even know if resilient's the right kupu, but we're a bold town.
Yeah.
Our ilingual speaks for us.
Yeah, you're real good at that, man.
But that's also probably a reflection of my upbringing by my aunties and all the women in my family. Ko te whakamahi o ngā karu. Te karawhiu nei o te arero. But yeah.
So you were raised by your nan. And what are some of the lessons and values that she taught you growing up that you live by and take in your life today?
Some of the kōrero and aki I roto I Ngāi Tahu was to just be a good human. Me pai o whanonga, me mōhio koe ki te manaaki, te tangata aha kua kōwai. So I guess that's one thing I appreciate is around looking after your own people, and that was exemplified by my grandmother and my late grandmother, and our whānau. But yeah, I guess being a good human, stay the path and see something, see it through, see your kaupapa through, kaua e mate wheke, ana ka hinga koe ka tiko ki rānei tō waka. So I guess, around manawa titi and perseverance and, staying the path.
Ko ai o koro matua, who are your grandparents?
So, ko taku koraua ko Tame. Well, I'm named after my grandfather. He's Thomas, engari ko Tame. Tōna ingoa, Tame Morgan. Ko taku kuia ko Hana Morgan. Engari, ki tērā taha, ki tō te pāpā taha, ko Lynn Aerepo rāwa, ko Tei Aerepo, ana, no Ngāi Tahu hoki, taku kuia, i mate I tēnei tau, I te marama o Maihe. So taku taha te au, e rua ngā taha. I actually whakapapa to Ngāi Tahu through 2 different lines of whakapapa. My grandfather, Tei, is from Rarotonga, but it was, the freezing works that brought actually both of my grandparents together. Ocean Beach, which, we're quite known for all the different whānau, ka heke mai ki te Waipounamu down to Murihiku, and that was the oranga, I suppose, was working at the Ocean Beach meatworks.
There's actually quite a lot of Rarotongans down there, eh? Dee's whānau.
Ai, he hononga no tērā ki a Dee. Dee was raised around my grandmother as well, so before I was even thought of, it was, te momo ia Dee ma, so...
Yeah, do you know how that started?
The Marae, so the establishment of our Marae was actually a dream of my late grandparents, great-grandmother, and it was my grandmother and her older sister, Maria Tini, who actually brought that aspiration and dream to life for the people. So Te Rau Aroha Marae, as we know it, has always been a hub and a central place for all people. Kaua ko Ngāi Tahu anake, he marae mātā waka, tō mātou marae. And that's where that sentiment and that kōrero around looking after your people, aha kua kōwai, aha kua nohea, even though sometimes my ilingual may say another story. Ko aku tikanga ki tōku anō ao, ko te manaaki, te tangata, ko te whakaaro nui, me whakaaro nui te tangata.
What are some of your fave memes on the marae?
Probably being the hautatu one. I was the naughty kid. Me pono aku kōrero. Ai ka ki mai koe kua hangaranga tira tēnei engari he. Kua noho taurekareka tone. Growing up, I was a naughty, and I was te karere. So I was the kawe kōrero, I was the hari kōrero, sitting under the kitchen table, whakarongo ki ngā aunties, gossiping about each other. So then I'd go and tell that person, blah, blah, auntie, they're talking about, ko mea. Yeah, so ko au tērā. I've learnt over the last, over the years, hara tērā I te āhua pai. So I've learnt my lessons, but for years, ko te noho ki ngā kaupapa. Fun fact, when we hosted, I think it was the Hui Ātau, I was very, very young. I actually had the whole place evacuated. I hit the fire, what do you call it? Te mea, please do not touch.
Yeah.
Oh, well. It said it in big bold writing, ka pēra, ka pēhi te pātene, or the flick, merawake, and I just remember, everyone knew it was me. So there's quite a few stories of my upbringing. Also the chocolates and the lollies up the top of the pantry. Engari ka piki haereo. And one time, I climbed up, and then at that time they had those big buckets of golden syrup. I takao, and my foot went into the golden syrup bucket. So then when I came out of the bucket and started walking around, like footsteps, you clearly know where I was going. So I mohi o rātou, tēnā naki o te marae, engari, hey, I will forever be a kid of the marae and will ensure that the home fires, I don't live there at the moment, kei te whakaki taku kete, but a tōna wā,
Did you get away with most of that stuff because of, who your nan was? Or
Not at all. I feel like she was my worst critic in everything. I couldn't do anything. I felt like my mindset at the time was I thought I couldn't do anything right, but I think she just had high standards, and ko te haipapa ki au, she was just she'd ground me because I was opinionated, still am. I'd like to think that I was, what's the word, ka kaha taku pātai, tuku pātai, inquisitive, kind of, so curious, very curious mindset. Ana me pērā tātou.
Yeah. You'd always hit her up with 100 questions.
Absolutely.
Nan, why does this happen? Why does that happen? Who's that? Who's this?
Yeah. It was always why this, why that. So being exposed to, because you'd sit on various boards, so governance was definitely a huge part. I didn't know much about governance, but I just knew, she's going to these governance hui. And I guess in my high school years, I valued that much more. And then with her health declining, I was more, not a tentative, but i tino aroa ki ana mahi. Then I became quite protective, ko wai a wai, who's who in the zoo, who shouldn't be in the zoo. Tira momo kōrero, get back, step up or step out. That's how I see it. So all these isms and things that I've learned, mai tira wa,
Okay, I've got something here that I wanna ask you about.
Yes.
Can you tell me about this guy?
Oh my God.
Tell me about this guy,
bloody
Thomas.
God.
This guy, who's this?
That is young Thomas. I'm trying to remember which year. Manu kōrero 20, those are the old trophies, so that was 2014.
Yeah. You look so young.
Why would you bring that up, Pou? Yes, that's the young me. I still look like that, hopefully, just with a Moko.
Yeah.
Moko. Oh
you look similar.
What's my face?
Tell me about that guy and what you're doing in that picture. What's that trophy about?
That was probably in my prime time. No jokes. I think that's when my confidence, I was building on my confidence, and Manu Kōrero was a pathway. That was actually the second year I competed. Before this, bit of context, since we're going down that path.
Yeah.
Just turn that over now. Manu Kōrero, 2013, I stood in the junior English section, quite crack up, because I had a hearty lisp. So I was yes, and my topic at the time was face-to-face is more effective than technology.
That is cute.
Yeah, but that was my proud young self. And then following that year, I decided to jump straight into Pei Te Hurinui Senior Māori, which was... quite intense, because kāri au te reo I te rawa. I wasn't raised with the reo. I've actually acquired the reo later on in my schooling I au I te wharekura. So I went from, after 3 years at Southland Boys High, I transitioned, done a 360 and went to total immersion. Engari kāri au te reo, and it was towards the end of my schooling. So I think nā te hiakai, nā taku hiakai, I was quite hungry for the reo, so I was reading everything, like the Wiremu, Papakupu, William, I tērā wā koira taku.
Oh my God, Thomas, who reads the Papakupu
like that? I know, I did. And I used to write all these flash kupu. He kupu tawhito, but so my passion for language, was... ignited, and from there I just went down a path of learning the reo, and that being the sole purpose of my oranga. You know, he kauaka ko te ao haka, he kauaka ko te mātauranga. Like, everything is so intertwined by the reo that I wanted a part in that. Also in the revitalization, more so the normalization of the reo. And I was just lucky that I was able to grasp the reo quickly. It was quite.
It was real quick, Thomas. Your reo, again, it's like panekiretanga level, man, and you only started learning like not long.
Towards, the end of my schooling.
That's amazing. Holy hecka, you must have been that hungry for it, man.
I was
That's
starving.
Beautiful.
I was starving for the reo. But it was haka. There's actually, if I go back a couple of steps, I done a stint in Rotorua 2009. I was at Rotorua Intermediate.
Were you?
Yeah, I done a stint there. I think it was 3 terms. It was a short stint with my auntie and uncle. So we were living around the pa, whakarewa, immersed in haka. It was completely different. And that was when I was exposed to actual haka. Tūhourangi, our whānau kapa. We're practicing for tauranga. For matatini.
Oh my God.
2009. So that was my first matatini going as a spectator, as a kai tautoko for tūhourangi, being exposed to things like poi, quads, double short, single short, everything, the works, animation of the face. And I was just like, wow, this is not what it's like down home, so my mindset at the time was like, I was just so overwhelmed by the calibre. And what I was learning at school, I was actually preparing for my first primary school nationals, Manakuratai. I don't know if it's always been called that, but that was 2009 in Gisborne, and then I moved home just before that, so I missed out on the opportunity. That was being tutored by the Webster whānau.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a huge influence on how I wanted Thomas's world to be. So when I moved back home, I went straight into Southland Boys for 3 years, and it was a complete switch around again. And I pined for the language so much, and I pined for haka, that what was being given to me that kura at the time wasn't necessarily what I wanted. But I endured 3 years at an all-boys school. Because rugby was a huge part of my life in my earlier years.
Oh my God.
You wouldn't think so, right? But he halfback tēnei, well, probably not now. I'd probably be a water boy. But so it's all part of the journey, I suppose. And so I stepped back into te ao haka, and that's been my food, I sleep it, I bloody eat it.
Yeah, so let's talk about your tutoring journey in hakas. You've been tutoring since the age of 11, Thomas?
Yes, yep. So 11, 12, I stepped into I wouldn't even say tutoring. I think it was more so an opportunity to teach others waiata. Bluff Community School was giving back to, not giving back, I was bloody still there. But when I came back to Te Waipounavu, I was lucky to have a couple of gigs. My grandmother was doing the kākahu, making the kākahu. She was a weaver, so bodices, so tāniko, ko te whakatika I ngā piupiu, and ko te wāhanga ki au, ko te whakaako. And it just started from there, different gigs like that. And the sharing, it's all around the sharing of mātauranga. I don't see it as I'm the tutor and me whakarongo mai koe. Like, yes, you do. Me whakarongo mai. Me whakarongo te tangata. But it's all
listening.
Active listening. Kia ora, this is Justine for that. Active listening. Yeah, so from a young age, I've been in a role where it's just teaching and sharing mātauranga, and also acquiring new mātauranga, refining my practice, getting my groove on or not, having breakdowns and having fun times. So, it's part of it. And I think I was lucky at a young age, my grandmother, around regulating your emotions. And you often see that within, I won't speak for all tāne, but quite a few, I'm someone who likes to regulate my emotions all the time, and I'm quite a reflective person. So being in these roles, it's important that you can do that, so that you're the best you when you're teaching or in a position, or lucky enough to even have an apataki or a following of people to be able to share with. So my tutoring journey and learning started then. So if I go into high school, we didn't really have tutors. So when we made it to Nationals in Gisborne, 2014, I think it was.
Sure.
2014, we had kaiako, kai hapai, but we had to take ourselves. So we tutored, and that's when I started composing waiata. I was still hungry for the reo. That was at that point. 2014, Te Whare Kura o Arowhenua, Shakayla, was also in that kapa. She won't like me sharing that, but
she gave me this picture, by the way.
And she shall. So tutoring across primary school, kura tuarua, a couple of nationals I've tutored at, te haro, te kahu, giving back to our kura kaupapa down in Murihuku, and also contributing to Te Rau Aroha. I done my first couple of matatini with Te Rau Aroha under the tutelage of my whanaunga, of Hinare, Ana Corbin, I Te Rawa, and then was lucky enough to actually step into a role where we could explore what it's like to tutor adults or to share with adults, which, it came with its challenges and whatnot, but you refine your practice over time. And so between Te Rau Aroha, Whare Kura, and other kura across the country, I've been lucky enough to compose waiata. I think I'm just under like 200 waiata.
Oh my God,
for
Thomas.
different kapa, pakeke, kura tuarua, and some kapa e mana kuratahi. So it's been an awesome journey. It's an ongoing journey. It's probably that's probably just a short summary of that. But now I'm currently in the tutor role for Te Hikarua, our kapa, as you know.
But before we go into that kōrero, I want to expand more a bit on your composing.
Yes.
Because what's your process? Like, is it seems like it's easy for you, or what helps you to compose? What makes it easy for you? What's your process?
Well, I think compositions are contextually bound, so based on what the context is. The kaupapa of your tuhinga. I think depending on what the kaupapa is that you're wanting to express, I personally write from an emotional, it's based on your emotions towards something. Yeah. So it's that reflective process that I was talking about from a young age, regulating your emotions, but also being reflective. So when you reflect on a kaupapa, he hara te pānga ki tērā kaupapa, what is my connection to that? How did I feel? Why do I feel that way? What do I want others to feel? So I try, and it's like a blank canvas when composing, and ko taumahi, to paint the picture. I'm not an artist, like physical, but, ko te whao kupu pia, tētahi ara. And I think because I really loved the different elements of te reo Māori, of our reo, it's such a beautiful language to converse in and to even just be immersed in. So to hear different kupu, or for example, like kura, school, but also a treasure, also means read, means so many things. So when I talk about the context of things, it's important that the kaitito conveys that message and actually communicates what they're trying to communicate effectively. But composing waiata is probably the biggest tool for learning a language for me personally. That's how I was able to but to capture, I guess, my journey was to look at these compositions that I composed back when I started learning the reo. Cringe as, Like the tēnei mātou te rōpū kapa haka, when rōpū kapa is the same kupu. But, tira momo, and so over time, as I say, you refine your practice, you learn different ways. But also, when I went through Te Rau Aroha, the likes of Hinare, ko ia taku ihopu manawa, mo te tito waiata, mo ngā ahuatanga katoa, o te noho kaiako, o te tū, hei kaiako. So everything I had learned, or some of the gems that I've taken away from my experience, in particular from Hinari, has allowed me to grow and further develop into the kaihaka and kaiako that I am today. Right. But yeah, it's definitely a huge tool for learning the reo. You get to write, me noho te tangata. You can just sit, throw all your ideas out. Harai te mea me tika, kei te pai te hapa. But ko e hapa moake is what I say, so it's always, I think waiata are quite, poetic, what do you call that, poetic license. Yeah. Kei a koe te mana, we talk mana motuhake these days. It's like, well, māua no koe e kuhu. It's like, do you, boo? Hei aha tu māku, I'm going to do what I want to do. But even now I still go through that reflective process or, just to refine. Because we want the best for our people. Hey, we want the best for our people, and I just think haka and te reo Māori is a massive part in igniting the ultimate potential.
God, I love you. You're such a rakatira. So, what made you pick up the taki to take Te Ahi Kāroa? Because you're the tutor of them now, you've handed the ropu, handed the kapa.
I guess not so much an inherited responsibility, but I think for years and years I've always known Te Ahi Kāroa, hence why I know all the brackets from when you've stood. And I love it. I love the journey and the waiata, but also auntie and uncle, all the aunties, sorry, but in particular auntie and uncle Tauira, he tino I hopu manawa raua. So it was I māma noa taku whakai. Don't get me wrong, I was hesitant at the time. Engari, me pera, that's just how I regulate everything, If I'm to take on such role, ka pehea rānei taku, hapa I tira. Am I even going to be able to give, or be good in that position? And I love it. I think so far it's an opportunity to contribute to a kaupapa that's been around for more than, or longer than I've even been around breathing. Yeah. But to think what's the next 30 years or what's the next 10 years, knowing that we've got all our tamariki, which I love, all the ira mutu, ka mihi mai rātou, koira te hua o te haka. It's not around competitive. Yes, that's a buzz, but it's also hoha. It's like, oh God, having to endure that and all that comes with it. But haka in general, and seeing people, my love, for just people learning their reo, their heritage reo. And we often look at second language learning, right? But I think, no, it's reclaiming a language that was actually taken away from us. So if we shift the thinking, it's around providing spaces, Te Ahi Kāroa, for people to reclaim their heritage language, their cultural identity. So I see it more as, it's more than just the physical, mahi poi, mahi haka, mahi maurako. He wāhanga nui, era. But for me, it's connecting people to their identity, or not connecting, but igniting their potential in ways that they probably haven't explored. So I'm loving it. I love our kaupapa, whānau-oriented. We don't stand for no drama.
Wairua pai up in
It's
here.
always wairua pai. Wairua pai up in this mother ship. So I guess it's ensuring that our kaupapa is fit for our whānau and actually aligns with their aspirations. And we'll get there. We're kei te whakarite tonu, i ngā āhuatanga. We're preparing for matatini, obviously. I'm excited for this next gig, just to be us, to test different things, try different sounds, ko te taha ki te reo. He pai, it's evolving. Yeah. We move with the times, we maintain what we can and hold on to what we can. It's not, harai te mea kei te tuku I e rā āhuatanga, but we're moving with the times, and what the vibe. Hey, vibe check. Got a vibe check all the time. I'm someone who likes the vibe check. I'll just randomly chuck out like 3 or 4 lines with a random thing that I woke up with, a tune.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no. Kare go.
As a kaihaka of Te Ahi Kārua, I've noticed that you use the Ngāi Tahu dialect in your compositions. Why did you choose to use the dialect, and do you speak the dialect?
E harai te mea ka kororo au, well, I te mita ake o Ngāi Tahu, and I guess there's 3 reasons why. I think over time, the reo that I had acquired at the time was through kura reo, and you know, harai te mea he ko te mita o Ngāi Tahu. I think my haerenga overseas to America, I was lucky enough to go on an Indigenous exchange when I was at Otago Uni. So I was exposed to different Indigenous peoples, you know, ko tētahi Kāori a rātou, tō rātou ake reo, everything, you know, but then say go down the road like 100 k's, this iwi have their reo, their culture, their narratives, they're thriving in it. But the difference is that one's been recognised by their state. So I think presenting at the time on language revitalization was a huge thing. And I think there's hua and benefits in writing in Ngāi Tahu reo, adding to the resources, adding to the whare puka puka, you know, building up so for generations to come, when they go and do research on who they are or to see, they'll see, oh, actually, yeah, harai te mea koia nei te reo o Ngāi Tahu o Ngāi Tahu. But I just see it as a path to express the different elements and what makes us unique as Ngāi Tahu, as iwi of Te Waipounamu, people of Te Waipounamu, and our own narratives, which are that different from those of Te Ika Maui, you know, because we often have been measured against North Island,
yes,
Pūrākau narratives, ways of thinking. So when I think about it, it's Aotearoa me Te Waipounamu.
Yeah.
You know, koira, I roto I ngā manuscripts, ngā tuhinga tawhito, we're a separate island, you know. So for the Ngāi Tahu reo, I think that's just my contribution back to the iwi, and to normalise different aspects. It's not like I'm forcing a reo onto someone, you know, but he tirohanga anō, and different kupu. It's not just everyone kei pōhe he te tangata, it's all about the kei. It's really not. That's probably a little part of it, you know. It was actually, ko ngā kupu ake o Ngāi Tahu o I roto mai ngā tuhinga tawhito.
Could you give us a couple of examples?
Yes, there's a couple of examples. Kupu mo te kimi haere, tētahi mea, ko te wani haere. We've seen that in our language resources, that te hiku o te reo, ka hiku o te reo. Ai. Some of the other kupu that have been used previously around kōtiro and tama, aki kera. Kera for kōtiro, aki for tama. Harai te mea e kaha. E kaha ana te kororotia.
Yeah. Tika.
Engari, you know, ko tāku, ko te tōtō mai i ngā kupu, using haka as a vessel to, you know, it's part of our cultural identity. So, you know, and I know that there's our whānau from ko tahi mano kaika, ko roa rātou e whakatīna nāna I ēnei āhuatanga o te reo. So using their mātauranga and sharing their mātauranga with our whānau so that it actually continues to thrive and so that our people can move with, you know, with the times to evolve with a reo that's going to forever evolve over time, you know. Our moko puna, karere ke te reo, I reckon, you know. But yeah, so it's nothing too hohonu around why I compose in Ngāi Tahu.
No, that was perfect. Let's talk about your mataora journey.
Oh, yes.
Let's go there.
Mataora.
Why did you decide to get it when you decided to get it?
Well, actually, from a young age, there was always a photo in our lounge, and it was of my grandmother's, well, he kuia anō ko mihi peka, te wairama tōna ingoa. She's one of the Goldie, you know, those...
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Did her picture used to be up on this wall back in the days when you worked here, remember? I believe there was one of your nans.
Yes. So ko taku, yes, in here.
Yeah.
So that was my nan. That was my
your actual nan.
Yeah, that was, yeah. So I'll speak to that. So, yeah, so we were raised with this photo and I was always like, or it had a smoke hanging out the side of the mouth.
The pipe or actual
no, it was
smoke?
An actual one anyway, a rollie, I think. But it was my grandmother. So in 2007, she had her kauai, done. And at the time, I had no knowledge about moko. So we had this wānanga. We had the likes of Hohua Mohi, Johnny Brooking, Papa Mark Kōpua, and other kaita, Hinare, and my own uncle, Te Mauri. So there was a wānanga going on, and for years they had been trying to get my nan to have her kauai done. And she actually caved in. Because, i te rawa, people obviously talk about, being worthy of something and having to earn your moko, and I'll get into that. So she had her moko done, and I remember sitting with her the whole time. I sat with her the whole time she had it done. I held her hand. I felt it. I didn't feel her pain, but I could feel that she was in pain. So I was concerned and like I said, inquisitive. So I was asking questions. And I was just a young boy at the time, trying to understand why my nan's getting this thing on her chin and getting her lips done, which they went from small to massive.
Yeah.
So it was just an odd experience, but opened my mind to that realm. So as life, went on, my nan looked stunning.
Yeah.
Ngutu purua, moko kauai, pu kauai. It was just amazing. But when I started to consider moko was when I was actually told she was terminally ill. I often don't think about that because it's quite a time in my life that was a testing time. To think, well, one day my nanny's not going to be here anymore. So, so the moment I think I was 20. Yeah, so it's kua roa, or hangaroa te wā. I made the decision to not have a 21st. I felt gross about even celebrating, that. I was like, no, we need to celebrate, my grandmother.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, we didn't know how long we had. We were lucky to actually have a few years. Yeah. But at that time, it was like, shit, how long, we don't know. So I had my, 2018, I organised it all, went through the process of, talking to my nan, talking to my great-grandmother who was still alive at the time.
Wow.
Daff Morgan, she's 90... late 90s anyway. So ka tonu, te roro, and I wasn't really seeking permission. I was always going to have it done. I just wanted,
to let them know this is what I'm up to.
Yes. My nanny at the time was quite hesitant because, racism's everywhere and just colonisation everywhere.
Yeah.
So experience around racism was when I was at a certain institution. I don't know if it's an institution. University, I must say. I'm not naming names. I don't know if that's illegal. Anyway. I've written about this in my master's, which captures the whole journey. But me having my moko done was pretty much paving the way for others to see themselves with moko, because people say you have to be worthy of it, you have to earn it. So I don't speak.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hei aha era, to debunk those Western views or to throw out the door.
Yeah. Hard.
The colonial wedge.
Kia ora.
That is here. And for people to know that it's just a natural progression in one's life. Maua no koe kuhu. We sing about it in the pātere. Yeah, but my whole journey around having moko was to somewhat live the same experience as my grandmother. So I had it done in the same position, on the same whare, our whare. Yeah, and she was there on, and
holding your hand this time.
Yes, yeah.
Piwari.
And it was quite a special moment. All four of my grandparents were there. And now I only have two who are still with us, my two grandfathers. Yeah, so it was good to have all four grandparents support me in my decision. Also have my mates from uni, my whānau, my cousins, my auntie and my mum were also done at the same time. So it was actually a journey for the whānau of our marae. And now it's just becoming a normalised kaupapa. Yeah, like I said, reclaiming what's ours, what's rightfully ours by our whakapapa. Mena he toto Māori, tēnā.
Yeah.
Whaia tō moko, you know, in your own time, you know, no rush, but hurry up.
Yeah.
Don't leave it too long. Get sorer the older you get. So that's probably just a little bit of the journey around me having my moko, which was my grandmother. That was the inspiration. Yeah.
What was her reaction when you sat up from the bed?
Oh, well, I don't know because I started crying. Hey,
I
already cried. I was like, why am I crying? Hey, how dramatic. I just cried at everything. So my eyes, and also having when my nose was being done, my eyes like welted up and filled with water. Yeah. So I actually couldn't really see. It was like, this is horrific. I probably look terrible. But, you know, because it was a bit swollen, I was like, oh my God, is this what I'm going to look like? But no, it was an awesome experience. And looking at my grandmother, sorry, I'll go back a couple of steps. Yeah. When the brother Nare was drawing on the moko, you know, they often say, go and have a look and, you know, come back and let me know what you think. And I was like, no, all good. And everyone's like, whoa. I said, oh, no, I'll look at... Yeah. Have a look. I said, no, I'm all good. I trust him, you know. I'll look at Nanny. Yeah. And I remember looking at her because he actually had drawn up the sides of my face. And she was like... So I think I couldn't read between the lines, but anyway, I didn't end up going up the full thing. Yeah, so it was quite crack up. But she was on oxygen at the time, so it was good. It was even the fact that she was even able to. So I was like, should I look? No, but it was good. It was an awesome experience. I loved every moment, and it's a moment that I'd love to relive. You know, if I could, because the people that were there. Yeah, you know, ko etahi ko mate, and to know that that's reflected in the moko and in our designs, is reflective of those who were present. You know. At that time. So having moko and speaking reo was just a mark of survival, a reminder, you know, a daily reminder to those who may not be fond of us, that we're still here, we're still beautiful, but a mark of survival, And you
wrote about your journey in this pātere,
you
composed for our haka group.
Yeah, so the pātere that we're singing about at Matatini, we were lucky enough to actually do it at the regionals earlier this year.
And where did it place?
We were lucky enough to win that item. But it speaks of the journey of someone who has had their moko done. So whilst I don't know every person who's had moko, I know for a fact, you know, karuku atu tātou ki rarohenga, you know, we go to another world, you know, to another realm that unless you've had your moko done, I can't quite communicate that. So it was through pātere to go through the different phases, you know, welcoming people to the realm of moko, also what happens, you know, the karakia, the waiata, the haka, the mōteatea, everything that's happening while you're, you know, ruku hohonu, you have to, because it is pretty sore. It was pretty sore. It's sharp pain in your face for hours.
Hot knives on your face.
So it just captures the journey of that, and it welcomes people to come and explore it. So whilst those who have had moko can be like, oh my God, throwback. And then there's those kāre no kia ruku atu, ki te ao rarohenga. You can also be part of the journey, you know, haramai. Or not, you know, or not. But, I love moko. I think moko has its own reo. He reo anō tō te moko, pēnei te reo kōrero nei. Some with the intricate markings, you know, it's the markings of our tipuna. Whether it was in your whakapapa or not, I can tell you know, go back far enough and ka kite, you know, I think it's a beautiful thing.
What does it mean to you to be Ngāi Tahu?
Well, as I said at the start of my kōrero, being raised at our marae, always knowing our whakapapa, knowing my ties to Ngāi Tahu, I think that one makes me who I am today. But the experiences of being a marae kid, being around the likes of Taua Kira Brown, who was tino kuia of Ngāi Tahu, and who was one of the ones who used to speak the Kai Tahu reo. So being exposed and being around people who have influenced the Ngāi Tahu world that we live in today. Me doing my mahi and me doing all the different things, haka, working for our iwi, for our people, is giving back to those who fought for us to have what we have today, the paua tipenes of the world, and all their sacrifices, the claim, Ngāi Tahu claim. So I think the world we live in goes beyond what they ever probably envisioned we would, what we would actually be in. So to continue on their legacy and their journey and being a good human. Being Ngāi Tahu is about being a good person, serving your people, ko te manaaki, te tangata ahakoa kōwai. Doesn't even have to be just Kai Tahu. I love being Ngāi Tahu because of the connections, the whakapapa connections, the people, I have in my life, and the people we're all connected, by whakapapa, and a shared vision, so that our kids can thrive with their Ngāi Tahutanga, and to know that ahakoa te aha, you come from, tipuna who sacrificed a lot, and then a tōna wā ka noho tātou hei tipuna mō ngā mokopuna, mō tērā rautau anyway.
What legacy do you want to leave for your uri whakaheke?
Always ignite the ultimate potential in whatever. It doesn't have to be if there's something you don't like, all good, but whaia, tu tau, o tōu, tōmina, nei. And I hope that within some of the waiata that I've composed, there's key messages around encouraging rangatahi to pursue their dreams and aspirations, to never fear, to know that you've got the support of your people. I don't know if legacy is the right kōrero, because I want others to shape and be the architects of their own destiny, their own world, but to leave in place, I guess, examples of how we've done things, keeping it open, being open-minded, open-hearted to change, because the world that our mokopuna will inherit won't be the same world that we're living in currently. I hope that it's more advanced, and it's fit for purpose for whatever they want to do. I'm hoping our education system is fit for purpose, so if we can influence change, as you've seen the recent cuts, I don't want to talk about that though, but doing what we do for the betterment of our kids and their kids, and that's that kōrero mō tātou a mō ka uri a muri a kēnei.
Boom! Last question. If your nan was still here, what do you think she'd say about you?
She'd still be judgy. She'd love me, so I think...
and what you've achieved so far?
She'd be proud. She probably wouldn't tell me. Ko te mihi anō ki ana... tamariki ana mokopuna. Oh no, you wouldn't see that. But I know that she'd be very proud. She actually shared a kōrero in an interview before she passed. Around she always wanted her kids or someone to take on the reo and to start, that to ignite the reo again within our whānau. So she did share that she was proud of that and excited, for the future. But pauri ana te ngākau, kāri i konei, but I know that she'll be with me through Moko.
Yeah.
And through all that we do and all that I do, Yeah,
because you, for regionals, I'll just briefly bring this up. Regionals, you had your toas kite on you.
Yes.
Hey, did you bring it on stage with you?
Yes, I did, yeah. So I've often taken my grandmother's things. I've worn her scarves. People look at me like, it's like, back off.
Yeah.
And I think that also speaks to grief. It's often something people don't like to talk about. I feel like I wear my emotions on my sleeves. And and actively reflect and regulate. But that was a tough time, you know, so because my name was a weaver, and a lot of the kōrero that she weaved into kete whakairo, as I shared with our whakaeke from regionals around ascending with purpose, ko te whai I te ara pautama. I've just been, lucky to be raised by people who had a vision, and aspirational. So it's weaved into the kete that I'll carry and pass on, you know, for forever. Yeah. But I'm a Nan's boy.
Yeah, well, I'm a Nan's girl too. My toa raised me, and when she passed away, actually, because she used to wear like 100 million different cardigans, all 12 of us Moko chose a kari to keep of hers, and we all chose karis that she wore in the prominent years of our lives. Like, so I've got the kari that she always wore when I was a little girl. It was the kari that I remembered. Same with all my siblings and first cousins too. And, you know, when we're feeling it, when we're feeling pōuri or missing our toa, we'll just wear our karis, and it's a sign of tohu to the other ones too. Oh, Kazi's missing toa, or Sissy's missing toa.
Absolutely.
Or we'll be like, no, you're wearing your toa kari. Love it.
Yes, I'm very much the same, you know, when I'm, if you come to you've been to my whare, you'll see everything is my grandmother's. Ngā kete, iriana, photo. That's what drives me to carry on, is because she was such she was determined, right, to always ensure that her people had the best opportunities, and would show up for wahine, you know, rights. Because back in her day, you know, she was very active with saying, you know, it was hard for wahine to be wahine. But I neira, you know, it's not necessarily the case, but I can just still feel her energy and her wisdom coming through in some of the mahi that I'm doing, and I'll continue to take her with me.
Beautiful.
On this life journey.
Beautiful. Well, e te rakatira. Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been such a cool kōrero, Thomas. I've learned so much more about you. And thank you for sharing everything that you shared with me on this type of kaupapa as well. You're very talented, and you actually inspired me to want to compose waiata for my descendants too, something that I want to leave for them, and have them sing throughout the generations to come, you know. So I love that kōrero about your process of composing waiata, because I'll definitely take that on board. And we have to do like a kaitito wānanga.
Absolutely. That's us.
Just for funsies though. Don't teach it to nobody else or anything like that. I'll just teach my whānau and stuff.
No, absolutely.
But yeah, thank you.
Kei te pai. E mihi ana ki a koe I te reo pohiri. Definitely loved having a kōrero. It's not often I have a kōrero with anyone about things, but you know, I'm very lucky that you've had me here today.
Ka wai. E te iwi, Thomas Aerepo-Morgan, te rakatira no Te Rau Aroha Marae Awarua.
Ai.
And also a acknowledgement to the rest of your hononga whakapapa
Kia ora.
as well. If you liked it, let us know. Leave us a comment and stuff. If you didn't, then just keep your negative comments to yourself, because we're all about wairoa pai around here. Okay? See you, bye!